Our jargon term for the day is antecedent. Oh, and this, my friends, literally and figuratively, is where it all starts. As soon as you know that an individual has been diagnosed with autism, this really should be one of the first things that comes up. Antecedent. All right, what is it? Let's take a look at what our actual definition is. Antecedent: anything that occurs or is present immediately before the behavior of interest. I don't know about you, but the first time that somebody talked to me about an antecedent after my son had been diagnosed with autism, I was like, the behavior of it, what are we talking about? I don't quite get it. So let's take a look at our working definition, which is a watered down version. Antecedent: it's what happened before. Anytime that something goes on, and you find yourself in a discussion about a behavior that a child or a student or someone did, and it doesn't matter whether they are 3 years old or 103 years old, if there is something that's happening that wasn't what you wanted to have happen for whatever reason, or maybe it was something on the complete and total flip, something happened that you did want to happen, and you want to know more about why did this happen? Because I don't want it to happen again, or why did this happen? Because I want this to happen again and again and again. The first question you ask yourself is, what happened before? What happened directly before? And that's the antecedent. We learn very quickly, especially for those of us who have children on the autism spectrum, because you feel at sea, you feel overwhelmed, you feel like, I don't know what to do. We learn that there is something called the Threeterm contingency, that when a behavior happens, it doesn't happen in a vacuum. That any behavior that you and I do, and that we do over and over and over again, even though it looks random sometimes and you go, I don't know why the person does that, doesn't make any sense, you can tear it down to this three-term contingency and say, something happened, and that's the antecedent, right? Then the behavior happened, and then there was a consequence. Don't believe me? Try this out. Think about something that you do every single day and try to figure out what the behavior is, what happens right before the behavior, and what happens as a consequence of the behavior. I'm pretty sure that every day you get up and at some point you eat a meal, right? So the behavior is that you eat. Why? Why do you keep doing that, right? Why at that exact moment, because sometimes we wait too long to eat. But what happens, what's the antecedent that says, okay, now this is going to happen? It could be that somebody offered you food, or it could be that your stomach growled, or it could be that you felt faint, you had waited so long to eat. But something happens that triggers, oh, I'm going to do this behavior, and then what's the consequence for eating? Well, hopefully the consequence is that you feel full, and you feel better, and you feel rejuvenated, and you get more energy, right? So you can continue to engage in this behavior. Well, absolutely everything that we do repeatedly, has this contingency in it. So we can look at this and have this be something that is powerful. If you've ever, I always use the example, I remember being at a doctor's office with my son, and he sat and was banging his foot against the seat over and over and over again. And it was a behavior that I didn't want him to do. And so what was I doing? I said to him, stop that. And then he did it some more, and I said, stop that. Don't do that. Why are you doing that? Stop doing that. Now I've got my hand over on his leg, and in the back of my head, he was probably 3 or 4, and I remember thinking, what am I going to do when he's 17 and he's bigger than me? At a certain point, I'm not going to be able to control this behavior if he wants to do it. And in my head, I was cycling through all the things in life that were going to happen that I really didn't have control over. Because the truth is, the behavior itself, when somebody is engaged in a behavior, please, I mean, how often do we see reports on television where police or someone else is trying to restrain someone who's doing a behavior? It's ugly and it's not effective. And we see how wrong things can go, right? Because you can't stop behavior when it's happening. We don't have much control over that. But guess what? Guess where the power is? The power is in the moment before and in the consequence afterwards. So you'll hear us talk on the show about antecedent modifications. And I gotta tell you, it's the thing to embrace. Whether you are a parent or a teacher, if you can get there before the behavior happens, it's the keys to the kingdom. You can't always, and you gotta forgive yourself and everybody else for that. Sometimes the behavior is gonna happen, and then we put consequence strategies into play, right? But if you can stop a behavior happening before it happens, Wow, it's a very, very powerful thing. So knowing what the antecedent is, recognizing that, and then coming up with a plan for what to do so that we don't get to the point where they need to engage in that behavior, I'm telling you, powerful, powerful stuff. So what happened before? It's the antecedent. That's our jargon for the day.